Welcome back to the live stream. We had a little glitch earlier, so hopefully we have fixed that. I think I have, but we shall see. So what we're looking at today is how much do you need to make in order to afford to buy in Plano, Texas? We're going to look at a lot of different things today. We're going to look at Plano, Texas home values. We're going to look at property taxes, what they actually look like, how to factor those into your payment. I'm going to show you how to actually get your payment and calculate that payment along with how much the max price that you can actually afford with the salary that you have. So in other words, we're going to look at how affordable is Plano specific to you. You're going to have all of the tools that you're going to see on the screen today. You have available down in the description. So you're going to be able to follow along. If the scenario that we plant or the scenario that we go through today fits your specific needs, congratulations, you're in luck. Your homework is done. However, chances are that you're going to need to modify a few things along the way. So that's why we have all the resources linked down below, so you can just follow along and see if Plano is in your future. See if Plano is something that you can afford with your specific situation, with your specific housing needs, along with the salary and everything in between. So let's dig into it because we don't know if this live stream is going to stay up for a little bit longer. So a little backstory, I tried to do this 2 times prior and it failed on me. So let's do this. Third time is the charm. Let's get into Plano. In order to understand if we can afford a home in Plano or how much we actually need to earn to live or buy a home in Plano, we need to understand what the home values actually are in Plano. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is Alto's research. Now this is market data that you have available to you right now. This is free to use. Just go over to altos.re and then get your account going. All right, so here's what we have. The reason that we use Altos altogether is because it gives us a lot of really good information. Now, the median list price goes back to 5 years. That gives you a historical roadmap or a historical recollection of what the prices were for Plano, Texas. So here you see in 2019, 5 years ago, what the home prices were. And then you see a big jump up here when the interest rates were super low in the 2s and 3%. Well, you had a huge run up in real estate prices. Many of you actually remember that. Many of you remember trying to purchase a home at that time. And unfortunately, some of you might not have been able to purchase one, given that you would have to go $50,000 above ask, $100,000 above ask. It was just an absolute frenzy. Now, things have slowed down since then. You see a little bit of a cool down period here in towards the end of 2022 as the interest rates started to rise up. And then 2023, you had a little bit of a rise up there towards the summer and then another cool down period. So we do expect for these prices to go back up again as we get into spring and summer. So just a little heads up, if you're in the market at the moment, make sure that you reach out to us if this is something that you would, if a real estate purchase is in your future or a real estate sale as well. All right, so the reason that we're using Altos altogether is because I like the way that they segment the type of real estate. So it gives us 4 quadrants. It gives us 4 segments to choose from. You have 25% of the market up here, that the median price in that segment is almost $1 million. The next segment down is 636,000, 530,000, and the lowest quadrant, so the bottom 25% of the market specifically in Plano, Texas. Again, we're only speaking Plano, Texas. We're not talking about any other cities today. We will in the future as we go live on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So if you have a specific home or if you have a specific city that you want us to cover, let me know in the chat and I'll make sure that we get to it. But the reason that I like this particular, the market segments, is because you know your needs. For the most part, you know the type of home that you need, you know the square footage that you're looking for, you know the amount of beds, you know the amount of baths. So this segments what you can expect to pay if you're looking for that type of home. So as an example, if you're looking for over 3,000 square feet and need 4 beds and 3 baths, well, expect to pay a median price range of $640,000 or $636,000. So this gives you a good indicator. Hey, maybe I'm not willing to spend, or maybe I'm not able to spend that much on housing. So Plano's out. I just can't, this Plano's not going to be a home that I can afford. but I do need to be in the area. So if this is something that is your specific situation, then I ask that you go over a little bit to the east or a little bit southeast and go and check out Garland as an example, because there you're going to be able to find a home. Again, if that specific situation I just mentioned to you applies to you, then check out Garland. And this is something that you can do. This is something we're going to be doing we're going to do this on 80 cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. So again, if you have a city in mind, let me know in the comment section down below, because you get to dictate which cities we do next. Well, at the end of the day, we're going to cover all 80 that we have on our roadmap, but we can prioritize along the way. So for our purposes today, we're going to look at a very common and very frequently sought after type of property, and that is the 4-bed and 2-bath minimum requirement. So here you see this type of property is $530,000 in Plano. The median square footage that you're looking at there is about 2,400 square feet. The lot size is a little bit over 1/8 of an acre, and then you have 4 beds and 2.5 baths. Now let me move myself real quick so you see what the days on market is. And you get to, this is more to give you an idea of how long on average the properties stay if they're being sold, how long they stay on the market. So for our purposes today, again, I just wanted to give us clarity on the types of home ranges, the home prices that we're looking at in Plano before we get into some further math that you're going to see a very detailed breakdown on. So we're going to use $530,000 as our example today, because again, this is one of the most frequented type of houses that we get asked about, specifically in Plano. So to give us a taste of what it looks like, and by the way, this is where it crashed earlier. I had a different website up, which I believe was what caused the crash of this particular video. So hopefully it doesn't crash here. So in order for you to see exactly what I'm seeing, just go to JaimeResendez.exprealty.com, and you're going to be able to filter out all of the videos, all the properties that you have here, but also we will link up our list of preferred homes in Plano down in the description below, so you can check these out as well. Now, the reason I want to show you this is because I want to give you what the flavor is when it comes to this home value. So let's go over here to filters real quick. We're going to go to median home price. We're going to go to, we agreed that it was 530. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the type of property that you can purchase around that range. So again, we're going to go into this mode, $530,000. So I'm going to show you that type of property. That way you get a good real life sense of what type of home you can purchase in Plano. That gives you a good understanding of what we're looking at. So over here, you see the different types of properties that are available. Now, we're not going to click through and look at every single one of these. I just want to give you again just a little taste, this little sampler. Just pretend you're in Costco and getting a sample. If you want to purchase the real thing or purchase the actual whatever you're sampling, then go down to the description and check out the list of preferred homes in Plano, which is going to have these properties plus a little bit more refined. So again, we're just giving you a little glimpse of what we're looking at when we say $530,000. Well, it's a little bit different than a $530,000 property in Los Angeles, as an example. Over there, you're talking about a shack. Here, you're talking about a proper home. So again, if any of these stand out to you, awesome, congratulations. What you're going to notice about Plano specifically is you're going to notice more established properties. How do you know that? Well, sometimes the homes themselves give it away just by the way that they look. It lets you know that, hey, this is a little bit older type property, but also the trees. Look at the vegetation, how established the trees are in the neighborhoods are as well. So that is a really good indicator of the type of home and also the type of area that you're looking at. So again, just wanted to give a very brief glimpse of what we're looking at. I'm going to actually X out of this because I don't want to risk getting this frozen again. So again, we're not going to lose the plot here. We're looking at $530,000. Now is when we get into some heavy lifting. Now we get into some numbers. So I want you to hang in there with me. If you have questions, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, let me know. But even if you're not watching live, comment down below if you have questions. I do come to this all of the time and I answer all the questions I get asked. So make sure that you're commenting down below if you want some specific clarity on something that's happening. All right, so what we're looking at right now is it's a tool that is linked down below. This is courtesy of Win the House You Love, which is powered by Kyle Seagraves. He's a creator. Check his YouTube channel out. It is fantastic. So this is a tool that we have linked down below for you to use. Now, given that we're in Texas, we're going to adjust this. Now, the loan clarity calculator, is one that is going to allow us to compare multiple loans. And I'm going to give you different scenarios to see which one fits a little bit closer to you. Now, again, this is linked down below, so you're going to be able to create your own scenarios, but I'm going to show you exactly how it works, along with giving you a bit of interpretation of what property taxes are doing, how they can severely impact you if you don't know what they are, and also we're going to look at some home insurance along with some HOA information. So you're going to have all of the information available to you. So if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over to Texas real quick. We're just going to reset the page, and we're going to look at a home that is $530,000. I think we need one more zero. All right. There we go. Okay, here's what we have. Property taxes. Property taxes in Texas are historically on the higher end. Texas, for example, is the 7th most expensive property tax. Has the 7th highest property taxes in the entire country. If you're wondering, well, what's number one? It's New Jersey. So if you're in Jersey, if you want less property taxes, come on down to Texas. But Texas, again, just historically is one of the higher property tax states in the country. A beautiful thing about the taxes that we have, though, is that there's no state income tax. So there you go. There's a big trade-off there. Now, that's one thing to understand, but I'm going to give you a bit of some more context to property taxes, because these really impact you when we're talking about a mortgage payment. You're going to see the breakdown in mortgage payment here shortly, but before we do that, I want to give you the four components of a mortgage payment. So some of you are paying $1,500 a month. Some of you are paying $3,500 a month. Some of you are paying $8,000 a month on your mortgage. But what you're going to end up doing is you're paying on four different parts. You're paying, number one, on the principal, meaning how much you ask for the loan. So let's just say if you had a $500,000 property and you put $100,000 down, that's 20% down. Then $400,000 is your principal. How much you ask the bank for, that's the principal. So you're paying that down at the beginning of the loan. As you're going to see here shortly, you're not paying that much down. You're mostly paying towards the interest. But that's the one element of the four. The second element is the interest. So depending on the interest that you're talking about, so today's mortgage interest as an example, these are the numbers as of the time of this recording. All you have to do is today's mortgage interest rate onto Google, and it's going to give you what to expect. So here you see 7.87%. This is what you're looking at for a mortgage interest rate on average. You can get lower and you can get higher. A lot of it's going to depend on the amount that you're searching, the amount that you're asking for, also the point in time that we happen to live in. So as mentioned in 2022, interest rates were 2 and 3%, which is substantially lower, of course. And your credit score and all that fun stuff goes into it. But again, the second thing here is how much you're paying towards the interest. The third component is the property taxes. Oftentimes, when you're getting a loan from the bank, they are actually paying the property taxes on your behalf. Now, note that last comment that I said, on your behalf. They're not paying taxes for you. You're paying your taxes, but they're paying them on your behalf. So they're actually collecting it and putting it into escrow and then paying it on your behalf when they're due. So that's a third component to your loan. Now understand that the property taxes, those can go up and those can go down. So this is where a lot of individuals get into trouble. So if you are barely making it, as an example, with the $3,000 payment a month, and are just absolutely, it's becoming very, very challenging. As the years go by, at least historically, the real estate prices continue to go up. That means that eventually your property taxes are going to continue to go up as well. And that's what you see a lot of individuals that purchase a home here recently, is what they're finding out the hard way is that, yes, they were qualified, just barely qualified to purchase that home that they wanted to purchase. But now that the property tax rates continue to go up every single month, their mortgage payment, let me rephrase that, every single year, their mortgage payment continues to go higher. So they're forced to sell. Now, the fourth component, so again, that was property taxes. The fourth component is your insurance. This too right now has become a big issue. So I want you to go to your statement right now and prove me right and see what the home insurance premium is for you right now. Same thing with your vehicle insurance. So I have State Farm as an example. I went from paying $150 a month on my auto insurance to $250 in a matter of a year. Same thing is happening on the home insurance side. So again, those are the four elements. You have the principal, you have the interest, you have the home insurance. You have the property tax and the home insurance. I go into that education mode. I go into that disclosure so you have an understanding of the numbers that we're about to get into, because those absolutely matter. So we're sharing that this is $530,000. We're going to say that this property tax is we're going to say it's higher because we got to go over here to Plano. Just go into Google and type in Plano property tax rate, and it gives you the property tax rate to expect. So Plano, you see the city of Plano right there, the county, Collin County Community College right there, the county insurance, and the ISD insurance. Now, typically what's going to happen with property tax rates is you're paying 5 taxes. So this one, I'm not sure why it's not included here, but you're typically going to have, if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, you're typically paying on 5 different types of taxes. You're paying the city tax, which you see here, Plano. You're paying the community college tax. Most areas have a community college or some sort of higher education. You have the county tax, you have the ISD tax, and then you have a hospital tax. Those are the 5 that you typically see. So for this, we're going to take Plano at its word that it has these amount of taxes. Now, I'm not going to go through and add these up. I'm just going to guesstimate that this is 1.2, 1.3, 1.7. We're going to call it 1.8. Again, you can come in here and check this out. Just go Plano property tax rate, and it gives these to you. So for our purposes today, we're going to use 1.8 as the property taxes. Now, if you're buying in Frisco as an example, Frisco property tax rate, and it'll give you something very similar. But in general, again, you're going to have those 5 taxes that I just mentioned. You're going to have the city tax, the community college tax, the county tax, the ISD tax, and the hospital tax. 100% of the time, your ISD tax is going to be the highest. So the independent school district that you go to matters, just so you know. So you could be, you see this a lot like in Rowlett, because Rowlett has two ISDs. You have Rowlett and then you have Garland. They split a district. Well, it depends on where you live. That depends the ISD that you're going to. So just be mindful of that. Insurance, we're going to leave it towards a conservative percentage. So we're going to leave it at 0.75. You can play around with this if you want to go down, if you want to go up. But for our purposes today, we're going to go conservative. Actually, let's go 0.7. That's a little bit more. This is conservative enough where I feel comfortable putting it there. And it's not too out of the park. Then HOA. The HOA, I'm going to add it in later. But here, this is where you go to play around with that. Now, HOAs, they vary depending on if it is in an HOA, what they give you, what they don't give you. On average, here in Plano, you're going to find HOAs be about $800 to $1,000 most of the time. All right, so here's where we get into some comparison mode. What we're going to do now is we're going to assume these are all conventional loans. So we're going to put Con 1, Con 2, Con 3, and this is linked down below so you can follow along at home. right, so we're going to change these all to conventional. Again, this is based off of all conventional loans, and we're going to put in different scenarios. We're going to say, although you can purchase for 3% down, if you're doing a conventional for as little as 3% down, actually we'll do that. We'll do 3% down. We'll do 10% down, just to give you a good little range. And then we're going to do 20% down. Now, one of the myths that I've had it for the longest time, I thought this was the case, even when I became a agent, I had this myth in the back of my mind that you need 20% down. No, that's not the case. So in a conventional loan, the minimum that you can put down is 3%. That's the minimum. If you have an FHA, that's a 3.5% down minimum. Now, the myth of the 20% down, what it's saying is you need to put 20% down in order to avoid an additional insurance tax. So an insurance fee, if you will. So paying more. It's either PMI, private mortgage insurance in this case, because it's a conventional, or MPI. Is it MIP or is it MPI? If you're doing an FHA. But basically, it's an additional interest. If you don't put 20% down at minimum, then you're paying additional interest in the form of an insurance, because the bank sees you as not having enough skin in the game in order to purchase. So that's the only thing that the 20% does. And you're going to see it has a huge implication on how much you pay at the end of the day. But we're going to get to that. This is a fantastic tool to help you with that. Now, this is where it's going to be very painful for you to do. This starts off with a 3%. We're no longer in a 3% interest rate environment. We are in as you saw here, what are today's mortgage interest rates? We are in this type of environment. Now, I'm going to give you a few tips here. I'm going to go ahead and put 7.5% because that rate varies. And then one of the things that you can do so you don't pay as much in interest in the long term, because you're going to see how big of a disconnect this could be. So you don't pay as much in interest. There's certain things that you can do to lower it. There's programs that the loan officers, your mortgage professionals will let you know about. There's 2-for-1 buy downs. There's buying down your interest rate altogether. So essentially, if you pay a certain amount, it'll lower your interest rates. There's that opportunity to lower your interest rate from a 7.5 to a 7%. Then you're going to need to pay a certain amount of points, meaning $5,000, $10,000, depending on how much the value of the home is, in order to buy down the interest rate. So there are some additional fees. So you see here how many points, how much you're paying in order to buy down points to buy down your interest rate. That'll help you out in the long term. Now, I don't want to get too molecular with this particular point, but I just want to give you some pointers. There's the buy down of interest rates. There's 2-for-1 buy down. It's a type of buy down, but it's a little bit different in how it operates. So I want you to get with your lender. If you don't have a preferred lender, then just let me know in the comment section below and I'll connect you with ours. He's phenomenal. And the other thing that I cannot stress this enough, and I share this with all of our clients that we work with, new construction homes will put you in a far better interest rate that you can find in the open market. Let me say that again. New construction homes, so new builds. So the builders out there will put you in a much better interest rate than you're going to find out in the open market. There's a lot of reasons for this, but just know that even just right now, I got a call from Troy, my guy out in DR Horton. Dun, 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 dun. Just right now, he emailed me. I want to give you the interest rate that they're offering at the moment. $5.5 interest rate. So that's a big difference from 7.5. Now, of course, you would have to buy a DR Horton home when there's nothing wrong with that. I have several DR Horton homes myself, and I love them. But just to give you an idea, builders, whether it's DR Horton, whether it's I was about to say Compass, but that's a brokerage. Whether it's DR Horton, whether it's any builder out there, most of them will give you a favorable interest rate because either they're financing themselves or they have a preferred lender that has the entire development on their books and are able to save you a lot of money on the purchase. All right, so here we go. Now that we have that, those monthly EMI, mortgage insurance. So this was the additional fee that I was mentioning to you earlier. But depending on the down payment that you do, if you don't do at least 20% down, you are paying mortgage insurance. And this is the amount typical. This is a good estimate on how much you're paying additional every single month for that insurance. Just give you the numbers. We're not going to worry about extra payments, although you can just put in here how much more that you're going to be putting into the loan, and this will spit out a really good breakdown of how much you're paying on the loan altogether. So this lets you know in 10 years, the lowest cost loan at the end of 10 years is Con 3, which is our conventional 3, which makes sense. We put 20% down, which bypasses the interest. Bypasses the additional mortgage interest, and it shows you how much you save in the long term, at least for 10 years. You can move this up to the 30 years for the lifetime of that loan. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and you see how much you end up saving over those 30 years. We're going to move it down to 10 because this is realistically, many of you are going to be in a home 7 to 10 years before you purchase the next one. Statistically, that's what happens. So very few people, at least right now, are purchasing and staying all 30 years. So this gives you a really good appreciation of what we're looking at when it comes to the numbers. So you save $93,000 basically over 10 years if you choose loan 3 compared to the most expensive loan, Con 1. So conventional 1, which you're putting down the least amount of money there. The cheapest loan isn't always the best option. Also, consider the upfront cost, monthly payment, which lender is most trustworthy. By choosing this loan, you'll get a 5,400 return on what you paid for this calculator. So as mentioned, that down below, you're going to see this particular resource that you have access to right now, and it'll give you different scenarios. So for a couple of bucks, you have the entire breakdown, so you can compare loan to loan, lender to lender. By the way, that's what we encourage our clients to do, is to compare lender 1 what they're offering me, lender 2 what they're offering, and lender 3 what they're offering me. So for this particular tool, it helps you make that decision. That can ultimately cost you a ton of money if you don't. So every single one of our clients gets this because it's that valuable. All right, so the loan cost breakdown. The loan cost breakdown is finance mortgage insurance. Monthly mortgage insurance right here, how much it ends up costing you, the interest rate that you ultimately end up paying. Lender points, we don't put anything there in the points because, again, it's going to just depend on the lender that you end up going with. And it lets you know how much better or how much more competitive putting 20% down is going to be. Now, I understand that not everybody's going to be in a situation to put additional money down. I understand that. I just want you to have these tools in front of you so you know what's going on. And as far as the monthly payment, this is where we start getting into answering the question of the affordability and how much you would need to make. This gives you a breakdown of what your monthly mortgage payment would be depending on these various scenarios. So if you do 20% down, your monthly mortgage payment for a $530,000 property in Plano is a little bit over $4,000. Now, if you are putting, what did we put? 3% down? If you're putting 3% down, then you're paying almost $1,000 more, almost $5,000, right? So there's that swing. It's $857 every single month. That's the difference. Now, again, I can't make that decision for you. So if you have that income or that amount of savings to put 20% down. Some of you don't. Some of you, and it's okay. It's whatever ends up being the best scenario for you, but you have the information in front of you. You have a tool that lets you quickly analyze this without you having to call a lender, without you having to call even me, without having to call a real estate agent. this gives you information in real time so you can leverage it as you are going through your home purchase. Now, we're not going to get into the equity component. This is a really cool calculator, something very awesome to see, and how much equity you would have after 10 years. Again, you can go down to 5%. 5 years, and it'll let you know how much equity you have at that point in time. Now, what I want to show you here is the loan details. There's a big difference, and I recognize this. There's a big difference between putting 3% down and 20% down. That's the amount of down payment that you have, right? I recognize that. But it's important to have this information again in front of you if you have that income or you have this amount of savings, so you can do the analysis yourself. That's why we're doing this particular exercise in real time. Now, the last little segment that we're going to look at before we actually see how much you would need to earn in order to afford a home in Plano is this particular segment, because I want you to see what the benefit or the cost of buying would be versus renting. So you see, taking a few assumptions into consideration, assuming an appreciation rate of 4%, which has been standard in the past up until 2022. That was not. We had cities in the Dallas-Waco metroplex that were appreciating 20%, 25%, up to 30% up in Prosper. So that was abnormal. That's not going to happen. But on average, if the appreciation of your home is 4% year on year, that's a very reasonable appreciation rate. The cost to sell, depending on the agent that you work with, and a few other factors, we're just putting 6% down. The tax increase per year and insurance increase per year. So these are just some assumptions. As mentioned, property taxes, they go up, at least the amount that you're paying. Insurance increase per year, so insurance premiums, they go up. So this is putting those assumptions into play. Now, you see here the appreciation that you gain versus the cost that's going to take you to sell, the loan cost, so how much it actually cost you on the loan, the property taxes that you would be paying, the home insurance that you're paying, the HOA. The only thing that doesn't factor in this particular calculation that you're going to need to do on your end is the maintenance component. Right? Because there's a difference between you renting and you being an owner. When you're renting, a lot of the minor things are your responsibility, but a lot of the major things are not your responsibility. If you're the owner, the minor and the big things are your responsibility. So just keep that in mind. So again, that's one thing that we really can't factor in this particular calculation, because this tool was not designed to do that. That's more for you to do. But then you see, for comparison, a rental payment of $3,000 within this area, which is very reasonable, with an annual increase of rent of 3% per year, would cost $425,000 over 10 years. So you see that huge difference between purchasing and renting, right? So this is where you start seeing those differences in real time. This is not theoretical. This is actually using proven math to show you that breakdown. So this is linked down below. Don't forget that. This is going to be linked down below so you can be better equipped and not let either a lender or a real estate agent sway you one way or the other. Plug in these numbers yourself. You know your scenarios. This is very simple to use. Mr. Kyle Seagraves with Win the House You Love did a fantastic job in setting this up for us. So make sure that you click down in the description to have access to this same information, because now we need to get into another calculator to really break things open into how much you can actually afford with the salary that you have. This is also linked down below for your consideration. So again, we're going based off of the premise that we're purchasing in Plano right now. That's what we're doing. And I showed you various things already, but we're going based off of a $530,000 property. That's what we're looking at. So we have the, I'm sorry, I'm going on the wrong calculator. We've already covered property taxes, how they're impacting you. We already talked about home insurance, how they're impacting you. We talked about the loan type and what you can realistically expect to pay depending on how much you're putting down on the property, which basically is your mortgage payment becomes, where am I? Right here. Oh, no, I'm lost. Here we go. $4,000 if you put 20% down, or almost $5,000 if you put 3% down. So this lets you know the mortgage payment. But one of the questions that gets asked very frequently with our clients is, well, how much can I actually afford? What's the property that I should be going to that I should be looking at? This is how you calculate that. I'm going to show you the salary that you're going to need, and also this salary is just going to show you how much you can actually be qualified for. Let's just assume a down payment of 3%. Again, we've been going off of the lowest over here. We've been going off of the lowest scenario here on the conventional side. And let's say that the interest rate right now is 7.5%. That's the number that we put in our Loan Clarity Advisor, which again, our mortgage interest rate right now is a little bit higher than that, but interest rates, I do expect them to go down slightly, and they vary a couple of points either way anyway. So just giving you a realistic right now interest rate. Now, if we were doing this video in 2022, you would have called me an idiot. In fact, there are several of you that did call me an idiot with a short that I showed the exact same math, and I put a 6% interest rate. And back then, you were telling me, maybe not you specifically, but you were telling me that, no, I would never buy a home in that interest rate. Right now, I can get a home for 2% down. Well, you can't anymore. So there you go. For the longest time, I remembered his name. But anyway, enough of my trauma. So interest rate, we are looking at 7.5%. How long is your mortgage? We're going to assume a 30% mortgage as well. Property taxes, we're going to assume a 1.8%. Remember, just go to property taxes in the specific city that you're looking to purchase, and then add those up. And then insurance rate, I think we put, what did we put over here? Just to be as consistent as we can, 0.7. So we're going to put 7D. So this is point. So this is actually 0.7% of insurance. This is something you're paying every single year. We're going to assume that our credit is decent. HOA fees, we're going to assume $800, which is very reasonable. Income tax rate, that's going to get calculated for us anyway. So what we're going to do is, let's say that our yearly income is $150,000. That's what we're going to say, that this is how much we earn per the year. Now, if you have debt, if you have student debt, if you have car loans, if you have credit card, if you have anything else, child support, anything else that is a debt, then you're going to put it in here. If you have somebody else that's going to be qualifying with you, whether it's your spouse or somebody else, then you would put their debt in here, because it's going to factor in that debt to income ratio, which is going to be a huge determining factor on how much you can actually be qualified for when you purchase a home. For our purposes today, just to keep it clean, again, this is linked down below, so go and check that out. But for our purposes today, what we're going to do is we're going to assume that we make $150,000 a year. Some of you are going to laugh thinking, I'm never going to make $150,000. Some of you are laughing because last time I made $150,000 was last month. I get it. Everybody makes a certain amount of money. So however much you do, congratulations. That's up to you. I'm just showing you the math. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to your affordability dashboard down below, and I'm going to show you, or this has already done this for you, on a very conservative risk level, how much of a home you can purchase. It's taking in the debt to income ratio. It's taking in a lot of factors into play. It's going to take in your down payment and your estimated closing cost into consideration, and it even does the math on what it looks like down to almost the penny. But it's taken a conservative scenario again. And the reason that it's doing a conservative scenario is because we do not want to put you in a situation, or you do not want to put yourself, I don't put you in anything. You do not want to put yourself in a situation where you are just barely making it. That's what they call house poor. You bought the house, but that's all you can afford. So unfortunately, a lot of my peers are really pushed for that additional, hey, you love this house, but what about this other house that's a little bit higher than what you were comfortable originally? Unfortunately, that's what happens far too often, not just from the real estate agent side, but also from the lender side, because you can, although this is the max price, like this, how much you can afford. This is a suggestion. You can actually afford a lot more than this. And you're going to find a lender out there that will approve you for a lot more than this. But here's the thing, and this gives you that risk. This is where that risk tolerance comes into play. You can realistically purchase a home. Remember, we're playing off of $530,000. If you make $150,000, you can realistically buy that home, that average price home in Plano. But here, when you're looking at that riskiness, you're getting into the aggressive, into the risky part. So if you were looking at what was our payment? If we did 3% down, right here, 5,000. We're going to call it 5,000. Well, if you look right in between that, you're looking at 50. What? Let's call that 53%. 53% of your income is going to be tied up in your property. That's up to you. That's up to you to make that decision, right? Is that how much that you can realistically? Can you be approved for that? Yeah, absolutely. And you can get approved for a little bit more than that. And this gives you a few more details. But I just want to show you where the math is coming from, just so you understand how to calculate this. But beyond that, this is a decision for you to make with you and your family, and see if you feel comfortable purchasing in Plano for this price, for this amount of money at this point in time, in this interest rate. A lot of it has to do with your risk profile here, because again, you can and will get approved for higher than this. This is just a very conservative, breakdown or a suggestion on how much of a home you should probably be looking for with the salary that you have and your debt obligations that you have at the moment. Because again, I didn't put any debts in here. Only you know your debts. Only you know if you're paying down, if you have student loans, if you have card loans, if you have all that other stuff. Lenders will find a way to approve you for as much as you'll let them. Trust me. But it's not always about that, right? Now, you may be able to make this payment. Remember, it goes back to that previous thing. Let me talk to you real quick. You may be able to be approved for that amount that you saw on the screen, $370,000. Oh, I'm sorry, $530,000, which is what we were working on for Plano. But remember, there's 4 elements to the loan. There's the principal, how much you ask the bank for. That is pretty much, that's going to go down with every single payment that you do. There's the interest. At this point in time, most likely you're getting a fixed interest rate. So it's not going to be a variable interest rate that got us into trouble in 2008, 2009, in that housing crisis and all that fun stuff. So most likely your interest rate is going to be fixed. So it's not going to necessarily go up. So again, those are the 2 constants per se. You actually see the breakdown. In fact, let me show you the breakdown on that real quick, so you can maximize the tools that you have at your disposal. If you go down here on the Loan Clarity Advisor, you can see down to the penny what you can expect to pay, right? It factors all that into it. Lets you know all the way down to your 30 years, as you see, down to the last penny, right? But what I was going to share with you earlier, which I kind of did, but I glossed over it, was this: that your principal at your first couple of payments, you're paying peanuts. You're paying peanuts towards your principal. You're paying more in interest. So any $50, any $100, any $200 that you have a little bit extra at the end of the month, throw it into your principal. Again, extra. I'm not saying don't stretch yourself here, but I'm saying extra. Throw it into your principal. If you can pay at least one more additional payment per year, meaning if you can pay $3,600 additionally per year, you're paying your loan down in about 7 years earlier, 5 to 7 years earlier. That's how quickly things can can add up. But anyway, those are the 2 things that are a constant: the principal and your interest. You know what that's going to be. Now, those other 2 things, the other 2 things that we talked about was your property taxes and your home insurance. Those are not fixed. So if you're barely making it, and I'm not trying to end this off in a negative note, but I just want to, now you have all the tools available to you, and you see the amount that you can realistically get approved for, and how much you realistically need to make in order to purchase in Plano. Now you have all that information. keep into consideration the property tax rates or the property taxes, because a lot of individuals don't. With the property taxes, those are not fixed. Those are going to change, and most likely they're going to change towards the higher because real estate continues to go up. So if you're paying taxes on a $400,000 property that was assessed at $400,000, all of a sudden in year 3 it balloons up to $460,000 or $500,000. Yes, that's fantastic for the appreciation. You on paper are wealthier, and that's true. But that additional $60,000, if you go from $400,000 to $460,000, that additional $60,000 that you are paying in the assessed property, you're paying the assessed value of additional $60,000. Then you multiply that times that 0.08. I'll do that math for us right now. 0.18, sorry. 0.018. That's $1,080. So that's almost $100 additional every single month. And that just continues to go up. And that's just your property taxes. So again, if you're just barely making it, keep that into consideration. And that fourth component, again, you have your principal, you have your interest, you have your insurance, your property taxes. Now you have your insurance. Your insurance premiums will go up. That house is getting older. Real estate's getting more expensive. And it's getting a lot more expensive to have insurance. In fact, some states like Florida, there's some insurance carriers that have pulled out of Florida because of all of the hurricane. There's some insurance carriers that have pulled out of California altogether because of the expense and the regulations, right? So insurance itself is going to be expensive. And you may be thinking, well, Jaime, then I just won't have insurance. Well, that's not up to you. If you have a loan on that property, that's not up to you. That you do not have that decision to make. That is your lender. That is the bank. They're the ones that require you to have insurance on that, because it's not your property. It's you and the bank went into a relationship in purchasing that property. Until you pay off that loan, then you can make that decision if you want to have insurance. And 100% of the time, I'm going to encourage you to have insurance. I'm not saying, hey, get rid of that expense, because no, that's actually an investment. But either way, again, that insurance, that's something that is going to go up. It's not an if, it is going to go up. So that's what we have today. Let me know if you have any questions down below. We're trying this new series out. We want to really, really, really provide you with as much information as possible. We started off with Plano. We're going to be doing, I believe, McKinney next. I forget, but if you let me know in the comment section down below, I'll make sure that I prioritize the city that's important to you. I want you to know how much you need to earn in order to purchase in Plano. I want you to know what home values are in Plano. I want you to be super educated in the property that you're going to purchase, for one, but also in the area that you're going to purchase as well. So this particular video was about Plano. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe down below, or comment down below and subscribe if you're finding value in these videos. Outside of that, see you on the next one.